I'm Martyn Gettings. I'm reporting from the GTB Innovation Summit 2013 in London. I'm joined by Pablo Mlikota. He is Senior Vice President at Syniverse. Hi Pablo, you've just given a keynote presentation here. I'd be interested to know how Syniverse fits into the telecoms universe, as it were.
Well, thank you for having us in this great event. Syniverse is actually an ecosystem mediator. We work on the interconnectivity game, and we make sure that every mobile device that is actually off-net and traveling other networks, other technologies, actually get connectivity and is working, right? So that's the core. Conceptually, that's what we do. Make sure that every single device, every user gets connectivity back home.
Okay, and you were talking us through some really interesting stats that you've got through looking at big data on roaming. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, sure. I think big data is actually a trend. It's a buzzword that is going around, but most of the challenge that we're seeing is how people will harness that data and act on that information, right? So big data has three different dynamics. It's the variety of the data that you pull. The volume actually is increasing because you got more or smarter devices connected to those networks. And the third one is the velocity of accessing that data. How fast you can actually capture and actually do something with that information. You know, it's just data sitting down there idle if you don't act on that information. So from that perspective, we gave a couple of examples today on the roaming environment, which is one of the most critical customer engagements you might have because they're off your network and they're in another country, they're exposed in a sense. So you want to make sure that that connectivity is in place. And you got to move that information, process, and deliver a tangible result in less than 15 minutes, right? For example, that's sort of the dynamics that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, big data, as you say, it's a trend. What are the tangible benefits for a service provider?
At this point, big data, the way we see that and the mobile ecosystem is from the marketing perspective, is actually allowing the mobile network operator to really tailor marketing campaigns and the right message to the right subscriber at the right time, right? And I keep giving the roaming example, but because I'm here in London and I'm going to get an SMS with some sort of campaign, it has to be something related to my own experience. I'm roaming. I'm not in the US. So it doesn't make sense to me to get something that I will use in the US. It has to be specific on my roaming dynamic, right? That's from the marketing perspective. From the care perspective, this is the time where most of the operators need to embrace that end user and extend that brand equity because they're exposed to different ways and actually they can connect through different media. So from that perspective, we help operators really address that, make sure that you touch that end user, you know who they are, and actually continue to serve them with the best quality of experience.
And you gave us an overview of some of the figures that you've learned. I mean, some of them were really interesting. Can you take us through a few of those? Sure.
A couple of data points that I think is useful to understand how big data helps. One is we found out that 70% of the roamers are not engaging on data sessions, meaning that obviously they don't control that device on the data side, and they are their fear of the unexpected is what is triggering this behavior, right? So there's different ways to cope with that, but that's the data that will allow you to really understand if somebody's flying out and you see them disengaging from the service. It doesn't mean that people stop using emails or chatting or doing stuff on data. It's just they decided to do it not with the MNO. They decided to use it with either a Wi-Fi provider or switching SIM cards. So that's a behavior that the mobile operator can control. It's something that they can entice and motivate, and they have to do it in real time. So for that, big data helps, and the way you process that data, right? And the second way is we found out there's a market of the size of $17 billion for what we call the transient roamers. And those are exactly the same dynamic. People that are coming to places like here, London, and decided to pay maybe 15, 16 pounds for a one-day usage of Wi-Fi when they can actually get a much better rate by staying in data roaming. So those are the dynamics that we feel that the operator really needs to tackle, but not as a segmentation exercise, but a real-time act, right? An action that has to be done in real time when the situation happens.
And I think big data is one of the only ways to do it in such a quick time.
Right.
Thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.